What if everything we thought we knew about the Browns' quarterback situation has been wrong from the very beginning? What if the chaos unfolding in Cleveland isn't just the result of a bad record, shaky coaching, or rookie mistakes, but something much bigger happening behind the scenes, something the team can't hide anymore? Because while the losses keep piling up, while the locker room gets quieter, and while frustrated fans demand answers, one question has broken through the noise and taken over the entire NFL conversation. How long can the Browns keep Shedeur Sanders on the sideline before the pressure explodes? And as rumors swirl, insiders whisper, and even players begin to sense a shift coming, the truth is becoming harder and harder to bury. What's happening in Cleveland right now isn't just a quarterback debate, it's a countdown. And once the clock hits 0, nothing inside that building will ever look the same again. The moment the final whistle blew in the Browns' latest loss, you could feel the frustration hit the fan base like a tidal wave. Another week, another meltdown, another reminder that Cleveland's season is slipping deeper into a place they can't climb out of. And yet, minutes after walking off the field, head coach Kevin Stefanski stepped in front of the microphones and delivered the exact message nobody wanted to hear. Calm voice, straight posture, zero hesitation. He looked the media straight in the eye and said, "We're sticking with Dillon. Stick with him?" After another loss? After 9 weeks of missed chances, stalled drives, and play calls that crumble under pressure? Stefanski didn't blink. He doubled down, explaining that they want to help young players grow and that the plan hasn't changed. But in that moment, it felt like the fan base snapped. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. He didn't mention the mounting frustration in the locker room. He didn't address the way fans are booing louder each week. And he definitely didn't acknowledge the reality everyone sees. The Browns aren't just losing games, they're losing time. Every week Gabriel stays on the field. The whispers about Sanders get louder. Stefanski's words sounded polished, rehearsed, almost disconnected from the chaos happening on the field. And deep down, you could sense that his voice didn't match the scoreboard. But that disconnect? That's exactly where the story starts to unravel, because not everyone in the NFL believes what Stefanski is selling. And the first person to challenge it didn't just raise a question, he detonated the conversation. And that's where things take a turn nobody saw coming. The moment Jonathan Jones opened his mouth on CBS Sports HQ, everything shifted. This wasn't some random Twitter rumor or a throwaway comment from a talking head trying to stay relevant. This was one of the most trusted insiders in the entire NFL, someone who talks to coaches, agents, front office decision makers, someone whose phone buzzes with real information, not noise. When he speaks, teams listen. Fans listen. And even the Browns, whether they admit it or not, listen too. Jones didn't sugarcoat a thing. He didn't dance around the topic like so many analysts do when they're trying not to step on anyone's toes. He straight up said the quiet part out loud. Shedeur Sanders will be the Browns' starting quarterback soon. Not maybe. Not if things change. Not at some point in the future. He said soon, and that word hit Cleveland like an earthquake. You could feel the tension shift instantly. It wasn't just speculation anymore. It wasn't some fan fantasy or media rumor. It became a timeline, a ticking clock. And when he followed it up with, "Gabriel made it hard for the Browns to win today," it felt less like an opinion and more like a warning shot fired directly at the coach's decision. His words hung over the organization like storm clouds gathering right over the Browns' facility. Because no insider casually throws out a statement like that unless he knows something, unless someone behind closed doors has already started preparing for the change. Suddenly, Stefanski's confident stance looked fragile. Suddenly, Gabriel's job security looked temporary. And suddenly, the entire fan base realized that this controversy wasn't just smoke, there was real fire underneath it. But to understand why Jones' words hit so hard, you have to rewind the story, because this chaos didn't start overnight. It began months ago, the moment the Browns took a gamble no one else saw coming. And that decision is exactly where everything spiraled into the mess we're watching right now. To understand the storm Cleveland is trapped in right now, you have to go all the way back to draft night, because that's where the fuse was lit, long before the Browns even realized what they were stepping into. While other teams were playing it safe, hunting for a single franchise quarterback to build around, Cleveland made one of the boldest and strangest choices in recent memory. They drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks, not a veteran and a rookie, not a starter and a backup. 2 young QBs, both expecting a real shot, both carrying their own spotlight. On paper, it looked adventurous. In reality, it set the stage for one of the most unpredictable quarterback battles imaginable. Dylan Gabriel came in polished, controlled, reliable college numbers that looked like something out of a video game, smooth mechanics, and a reputation for consistency. He represented safety, stability, the kind of quarterback you could bet on without feeling the heat of pressure from the entire football world. Gabriel was the kid you could plug in immediately without worrying he'd crumble under attention. But Sanders? He didn't walk into Cleveland, he arrived, and with him came a spotlight so bright it practically burned through the Browns' facility. The last name alone brought more media coverage than the franchise had seen in years. Cameras, headlines, expectations, they followed him everywhere. He wasn't just a rookie quarterback. He was Coach Prime's son, a player raised in the center of attention since the moment he learned to throw a football. The Browns knew exactly what they were getting. They knew choosing Sanders meant instant pressure. They knew one bad game from Gabriel would ignite comparisons, debates, chaos. But there was a catch. Scouting reports, private workouts, and raw talent made Sanders too good to pass up. He wasn't just hype, he was legitimate potential, maybe the franchise-changing kind. So Cleveland tried to walk the tightrope, give Gabriel the starting job, slow play Sanders' development, and pray that the winds came fast enough to calm the storm. For the first few weeks, it worked. Gabriel looked steady, the offense looked safe, and Sanders sat quietly, waiting for his name to be called. But all of that balance, every bit of it depends on one thing in the NFL: winning. And the Browns stopped winning. That's when everything started falling apart. That's when the two-quarterback experiment turned into a full-blown controversy. And that's when the whispers around the league became impossible to ignore. Because losing doesn't just expose flaws, it exposes the truth hiding underneath them. And Gabriel's truth was about to be dissected under a microscope. The moment analysts hit play on the game tape from the Jets matchup, the tone shifted from frustration to concern. Every throw Gabriel made became a checkpoint. Every missed opportunity became a flashing warning sign. The numbers didn't tell the whole story because, yes, he completed passes, yes, he avoided disastrous turnovers, but none of it changed what fans and analysts saw with their own eyes. Gabriel played safe. Too safe. And in the NFL, playing safe gets you beaten. The Browns needed someone to take control, someone who could push the ball downfield, attack coverage, and stretch defenses that were daring him to challenge them. But instead, Gabriel played like someone terrified to lose his grip on the job. Short throws, hesitation, drives that fizzled out because he wouldn't take the risks the moment required. That timidness didn't just hurt the offense, it fueled the whispers surrounding Sanders. With every safe check down, you could practically hear the fans asking, what would Sanders do in that situation? Then came the shocker: Gabriel's honesty. After the game, he didn't hide behind cliches or pretend everything was fine. He admitted the truth that no rookie quarterback should ever say publicly. When things aren't going well, there will always be change, he said, and just like that, he opened the door wider than it had ever been opened before. A starting quarterback openly acknowledging that he understands a switch might come? That's unheard of. Some fans respected it. They called it maturity, awareness, leadership. But others saw something different: resignation. A sign that even Gabriel felt the writing on the wall. That quote didn't just land in post-game interviews, it spread everywhere. Headlines, social media, sports radio, comment sections. His own honesty became a spark that reignited the debate about Sanders. And whether Gabriel realized it or not, his words put Stefanski in an impossible position. Because if your quarterback is acknowledging change, then how long can the coach pretend nothing needs fixing? But just when it felt like the fan base was ready to explode, one voice stepped forward with a completely different perspective, one that called for patience when everyone else wanted chaos. Just when it felt like Cleveland was ready to riot, one person stepped up with a completely different kind of energy, steady, measured, and absolutely unbothered by the noise. Mary Kay Cabot, a name Browns fans know well. Someone who has seen this franchise at its lowest, highest, and everything in between. And instead of joining the avalanche of panic, she delivered a message that went against the entire emotional current in Cleveland. Slow down. While everyone else was screaming for Sanders, Mary Kay calmly explained why the Browns shouldn't rush to throw him into the fire just yet. After watching every snap, analyzing the offensive structure, and breaking down film the way only a veteran reporter can, she pointed something out that most people missed. The Browns, despite losing, despite looking messy, were actually showing small improvements in certain parts of their offense. She pointed to offensive coordinator Tommy Rees's adjustments, rolling Gabriel out of the pocket more, testing deeper throws, getting weapons like Malachi Cooley involved. Tweaks, not miracles, but improvements nonetheless. She wasn't pretending Gabriel was perfect, but she made it clear. The offense wasn't completely broken. There was something to build on, and ripping Gabriel out now could destroy whatever rhythm they were finally starting to find. Then came her strongest point. The Browns aren't going anywhere this season. At 2-7, the playoff dream is over, so why rush Sanders onto a sinking ship? Why expose your potentially franchise-changing rookie to unnecessary hits behind an offensive line that hasn't protected anyone consistently? Why risk injuries or confidence issues in games that don't actually matter in the standings? To Mary Kay, this wasn't about emotion. It wasn't about pressure. It was about strategy, long-term development, not impulsive decisions. She argued for giving Gabriel more time, letting him finish the season, letting the Browns gather a full sample of what he can or cannot do, and only then evaluate Sanders with a clean slate. But here's the problem with that logic. Fans don't care about long-term plans. Not in Cleveland. Not after decades of misery. Not when hope is sitting on the bench wearing number 14. And while Mary Kay's calm analysis made sense on paper, the reality outside the front office walls was very different. Because the fans had reached a breaking point. Logic might win debates on paper, but it never wins against raw emotion, especially not in Cleveland. The Browns fan base has lived through more heartbreak than almost any team in the league, and patience is a luxury they stopped believing in a long time ago. So, while Mary Kay's calm, carefully calculated analysis made sense to analysts and front office thinkers, it didn't matter one bit to the people filling stadium seats, wearing jerseys, and living through every painful Sunday. The mood across Cleveland wasn't measured. It wasn't patient. It wasn't analytical. It was frustration boiling over into anger. Social media erupted with demands. Radio shows lit up with callers shouting that enough was enough. Bars and living rooms across Ohio echoed with the same question over and over again. Why are we waiting? Why waste time on a quarterback who isn't delivering when the season is already gone? Why bench the guy who brings electricity, hype, and possibility? Everywhere you looked, it was the same sentiment. We've been losing for years. What do we have to lose by trying something different? And honestly, it's a hard question to argue with. The Browns have cycled through quarterbacks like no other team in football. They've watched promising players fail. They've watched seasons crumble before Halloween. And now, with hope sitting right there on the sideline, they feel like they're being told to sit still and trust a process that has betrayed them for decades. Even worse, fans aren't just frustrated with Gabriel anymore. They're frustrated with Stefanski. The same coach who once felt like the steady hand of the franchise now looks stubborn, out of touch, and disconnected from the pulse of his own city. Every press conference he delivers, every promise he makes about growth, feels emptier when the losses keep stacking up. The fans aren't being dramatic, they're tired of waiting, tired of excuses. Tired of seeing potential rot on the bench while predictable mediocrity plays out on the field. And with Jonathan Jones publicly predicting Sanders' rise, the frustration transformed into urgency. Because now it wasn't just fans wanting change, it was insiders, analysts, and even players hinting at it. And that's when the pressure turned from frustration into inevitability. Because if the fans are demanding it, the media is reporting it, and even the starter is acknowledging it, then something else is influencing this situation that goes way beyond football. And that influence comes from one very powerful name. There's pressure. And then there's primetime pressure, the kind that follows a last name, a legacy, and a spotlight that never shuts off. Shedeur Sanders didn't enter the NFL like a typical rookie. He arrived carrying a story, a brand, and a level of attention that most veterans never experience in their entire careers. And whether the Browns wanted to admit it or not, drafting him meant inviting that spotlight directly into their building. Because when your father is Deion Sanders, Coach Prime himself, you're not just a player. You're a headline. You're a storyline. You're a walking media storm waiting for the right moment to hit full force. Deion isn't just one of the greatest athletes in history. He's one of the loudest, boldest, most influential personalities in all of sports. Everything he touches becomes a spectacle. Every move he makes drives national conversation. So when his son entered the league, that spotlight came with him. The Browns knew this from day one. They knew that keeping Shedeur on the bench wouldn't go quietly. They knew that every throw Gabriel made would be compared to the guy with the famous last name. They knew that every misstep would raise the question, what if Sanders was out there? The cameras don't leave Sanders alone. Media doesn't leave Sanders alone. Fans don't leave Sanders alone. And the Browns front office? They knew they were drafting not just a quarterback, but a cultural catalyst. And that's exactly what's making this situation so explosive. Because Dillon isn't just standing on the sideline watching his son sit. He's watching every moment, every snap, every decision, every mistake. And he knows better than anyone that the world is waiting to see how his son handles the NFL spotlight. Whether he's saying it publicly or not, the presence of Coach Prime hovers over Cleveland like a storm cloud, ready to burst. But here's the thing. Sanders isn't just hype. He's talent. Real talent. And that's what makes this whole scenario so dangerous. This isn't a backup quarterback with nothing to offer. This is a player raised under pressure, molded by one of the most intense competitors the game has ever seen, and built to handle the bright lights. Every week he sits, the tension grows. Every loss makes the spotlight hotter. Every debate raises the stakes. The Browns didn't just draft a quarterback, they drafted a storyline that the entire NFL is watching unfold. And the longer they try to contain it, the more explosive it becomes. And with 8 games left, that pressure isn't easing up, it's about to hit the breaking point. With every loss pushing the Browns deeper into the abyss, the reality becomes harder to ignore. This season isn't about wins anymore. It's about answers. And the Browns have exactly 8 games left to find them. 8 games to figure out whether they are wasting time or protecting their future. 8 games to decide which direction the franchise will take long-term. That countdown isn't theoretical, it's ticking in real time, and everyone inside that building can feel it. The truth is, practice reps don't reveal what a quarterback truly is. They don't simulate chaos. They don't replicate the roar of opposing crowds, the speed of collapsing pockets, the panic of real blitzes, or the heat of real pressure. Gabriel may look composed on Wednesdays, Sanders may look sharp in drills, but none of that means anything until the lights are on, the score is tied, and the game hangs in the balance. The Browns can't hide behind development plans forever. Every week Sanders sits is a week they lose valuable data on their most intriguing draft pick. And that's the dilemma that has the entire organization stuck in a tug-of-war. You want to protect Sanders? Sure, that makes sense. But protect him from what experience? Growth? Reality? Great quarterbacks don't develop in bubble wrap. They develop in real battles. Look at the most dominant players in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes got thrown into the fire early. Josh Allen spent his rookie year getting hit, missing reads, making mistakes, and becoming unbreakable because of it. Keeping Sanders on the sideline might be the safest choice. But safe doesn't win championships. Safe doesn't create stars. Safe doesn't change franchises. And the Browns haven't needed safe for decades. They've needed answers. Bold ones, honest ones. And that's what makes this situation so tense. Because the franchise isn't just evaluating 2 quarterbacks, they're evaluating the entire direction of their future. If Sanders is the real deal, they need to see it. Not next year, not in practice. Now, if Gabriel is capable of being a long-term starter, he needs to prove it. Not in theory, not in press conferences, on the field. 8 games left, 8 opportunities to learn the truth before the offseason forces tough decisions. And if they don't act soon, they risk wasting an entire season of development for both players, all while the fan base grows restless and the pressure becomes unbearable. And this pressure leads us directly to the decision that could ultimately define not just this season, but the next era of Browns football. As the Browns stumble deeper into a season that already feels lost, the organization stands at a crossroads with only 3 paths left, and each one comes with consequences that will echo far beyond this year. This isn't just about who starts next Sunday. It's about what message the team sends, what direction they choose, and what future they commit to. And the crazy part? Jonathan Jones has already pointed straight at the scenario he believes is coming. Scenario 1. Stefanski stays stubborn. Gabriel remains the starter for the rest of the season, no matter how ugly it gets. Sanders never sees meaningful action, and the Browns go into the offseason trying to make sense of a quarterback room without real answers. Fans would lose it, media would torch the decision, and the front office would have to evaluate Sanders based on practice reps alone, a ridiculous gamble for a franchise that has never had stability at quarterback. Scenario 2. Gabriel struggles in the coming games. The losses pile up, and Stefanski finally caves. Sanders steps in late, maybe with 5 or 6 games left. Just enough time to get a taste of NFL speed, not enough time to truly evaluate him. It's the middle ground option. Not too early, not too late. But still loaded with questions. Can Sanders adapt instantly? Will the offense adjust around him fast enough? Will a late-season switch feel like panic, desperation, or a real opportunity? Scenario 3. The one Jonathan Jones practically shouted into existence. The scenario that feels less like speculation and more like an approaching reality. Sanders takes over soon. Not in some distant hypothetical future soon enough that fans can feel the momentum shifting already. Jones's phrasing wasn't vague, it was confident. And when a guy with his connections says something like that, it's rarely by accident. That means conversations are happening behind closed doors. Pressure is mounting inside the building. Patience is thinning. If Scenario 3 becomes real, the NFL world won't just watch, it will explode. Everything changes the moment Sanders steps on that field. The energy in the stadium would flip, the media coverage would triple, the national spotlight would move straight to Cleveland. Every throw he makes would be analyzed down to the last detail. Every mistake criticized. Every success magnified. And that's when the real challenge begins, not for Sanders, but for everyone involved. Stefanski's credibility will hang in the balance. Gabriel will be forced to adjust to a new role. The locker room will shift around the new energy, and the front office will finally see their gamble put into motion. This isn't a quiet quarterback transition, it's a franchise-altering moment waiting to happen. And once that switch flips, the ripple effect won't just stay inside Cleveland, it will hit every corner of the football world. If Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field as the starting quarterback, everything the Browns have tried to control up to this point disappears instantly. In one moment, one announcement, the organization would ignite the biggest storyline of their entire season. The national media would swarm, talk shows would stop pretending to care about anything else. Every camera lens would zoom in on Cleveland, and every headline would scream the same question: is this the beginning of a new era, or the beginning of chaos? Because Sanders isn't just a player making his debut, he is the spark to a media wildfire. Dillon's reaction alone would become a spectacle. Whether he shows up in the stadium, watches from Colorado, or posts something cryptic online, the narrative would follow him every step of the way. Something as simple as a nod, a smile, or a tweet could become a segment on SportsCenter. And you know exactly how the rest of the league's media would behave: obsessed, intense, and desperate to analyze every split second. Sports talk shows would spend entire segments breaking down his footwork, arm angle, timing, and accuracy. Every throw would be replayed in slow motion. Every decision would spark debates. Analysts would argue whether he's the savior of the franchise or just another overhyped rookie. Meanwhile, Cleveland fans starved for hope would treat every good play like a glimpse into the future, and every mistake like a cliffhanger in a TV drama. And behind all that noise, the real pressure settles on the shoulders of Sanders himself. Because the expectations are unlike anything he's faced before. This isn't college. This isn't Colorado. This isn't playing under the safety of Coach Prime's shield. This is the NFL where legacies crumble fast and stars are made even faster. He won't just be fighting for a win, he'll be fighting for a future, a reputation, and the right to carry the pressure that comes with his last name. Stefanski, too, would be standing on the edge. If Sanders shines, he could claim he made the right decision. If Sanders struggles, the narrative flips to his failure to develop the rookie properly. One wrong move, one bad game, and the criticism becomes deafening. Gabriel's story shifts too. He goes from starting quarterback to supporting character in a franchise drama he never asked for. This isn't just football anymore. It's legacy. It's perception. It's the intersection of talent, pressure, and a fan base starving for salvation. And that brings us to the moment all of this has been building toward the climax of a season filled with controversy, speculation, and unanswered questions. Everything the Browns have tried to delay, disguise, or downplay is now staring them straight in the face. 8 games left, 8 weeks of decisions that will echo through the franchise for years. 8 chances to answer the question every fan, every analyst, and every insider keeps repeating. Who is the future of the Cleveland Browns? And the truth is, there's no more hiding from it. The team is out of runway, out of excuses, out of time. Jonathan Jones didn't just throw out a prediction, he set off the alarm. He made it clear that change isn't just possible, it's imminent. Stefanski can stand at the podium and preach patience. Gabriel can keep fighting to hold on to a job he knows is slipping away. Mary Kay can regroup the facts and make a logical case for slow development, but none of that changes the collision course this team is on. The momentum is shifting with or without their consent, and the spotlight is already aimed at the guy waiting on the sideline. And here's the part that makes this entire situation so electrifying. When Shedeur Sanders finally gets that call, whether it's 2 weeks from now or 1 month, everything will stop. The stadium will buzz differently. Browns fans will sit forward in their seats. Cameras will lock in. NFL Red Zone will cut to every snap. Every throw will feel bigger than it is. Every decision will feel like history in the making. The son of Coach Prime stepping into the center of the NFL world, it's the kind of moment that can rewrite narratives instantly. But it won't just be about Sanders, it'll be about what his debut represents: hope, change. A fresh start for a franchise that's been chasing answers since before some fans were even born. It'll be about Stefanski trying to keep his job, Gabriel fighting to keep his dignity, and a fan base desperate to believe in something, anything, that doesn't end in disappointment. And that's what makes these last 8 games feel bigger than the standings. This isn't just a quarterback switch. It's a turning point, a test, a defining chapter in a story that's just starting to unfold. So, as Cleveland braces itself for what comes next, one thing is certain: the football world won't look away. They'll analyze every whisper, every hint, every snap. Because when the moment finally arrives, when Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field wearing orange and brown, the pressure will be enormous. The expectations will be sky high, and the spotlight will be brighter than anything the Browns have seen in years. This isn't just the next game, it's the next era, and the countdown to that era is already ticking.